welcome back to the Behind Track Limits podcast. Today we have a special guest, so if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello. My name is Aleix Casanovas. I'm the performance coach for George Russell, and I'm talking to you from Austria here at the Williams Hospitality, and pleasure to be here.
So I'll start first with my question. My question is, how long have you been working with George, and when did you first meet?
We started working in 2017, so this is our fifth year together, or fifth season together. We met in February 2017. Basically, I never heard of him before, never. Obviously, he was very young back then. But my boss, or the boss of Hinsa, said that there was this young kid, very talented, just signed by Mercedes, that had a bright future, and they wanted me to work with him. So they sent me to Milton Keynes.
So I will ask my question. What are your favourite parts about the job, and what's your not so favourite parts about the job?
My favorite part about the job is definitely I do what I like. I do what I love. Obviously, I spent six years between my bachelor's and master's studying sports sciences and strength and conditioning, and then I get to train an athlete that is at a very, very high level, right? Or the highest level, really. So the training side of it, thinking about how we can get better, not only by training, but also like all the other aspects of human performance, right? That's what I enjoy. That's I actually spend a lot of times. I don't even realize, but a lot of times I'm at home alone or in bed, and I'm thinking like, oh, I think for sleep we can do this, and for food probably we should try this and that, and hydration we should try this, and and I'm thinking about next session, next race, and so I enjoy that part of the job a lot. And then, to be honest, like when you work with an athlete that is so professional and is committed to winning, everything is easier, and also open-minded, right? Because when I got there, he was like, he did stuff before physically, but it was very different than what we do now and my ideas, right? So he was very open-minded from the beginning, and that's the bit that I enjoy the most. And then what I don't enjoy, obviously traveling becomes heavy at some point. From the outside, it looks like, oh man, they're so lucky and traveling all the time and all of that. But it is difficult sometimes. It's so many races, right? So many flights, and especially, to be honest, like this year with COVID and blah, 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 we have to do so many things because of it. So that's probably my least favorite thing about the job.
Yeah. Have you always wanted to be a performance coach? And if not, if you weren't one, what do you think you would have done?
Well, basically, before going to university, I went to university at 25, so very late. I did not want to study when I was younger. I used to race motorcycles, and that was the only thing I was thinking about when I was younger. Motocross, to be exact. And when I was 25 or 24, I think I had a very big injury. I had many, but a very big one. I was in hospital for like a few days in intensive care and all of that. And my mom got scared, and she was like, I think you need to go to university. You never know what can happen. Yeah. So I actually followed her advice and did it. But my plan was just to race motorcycles, a few more years, and after that, who knows? But then once I remember, I think maybe second year of university, I realized that this is what I wanted to do. Like, I don't know why or how that happened, but I remember I told my family, like, look, I'm just gonna, my focus is on this, and I want to work in sports, and I want to work in human performance in high level sports if I can, and I believe I will make it happen. So yeah, here I am.
Yeah.
My question for you is, what's a normal day for training George?
obviously that changes a lot. Let's say if you compare, for example, Tuesday we trained. I was with him on Tuesday in London, but that day would be very different than a day in February when we are preparing for the season, right? So, for example, Tuesday we just did maybe a 2-hour session in the morning, and we do a little bit of everything, let's say, but not too much. You know, we need to maintain fitness. For example, we would do some like 20-minute cardiovascular training on the cross trainer, and we would do like 20-second sprints, and then 3 minutes a bit slower and stuff like that. You know, so we cannot do a lot then, or we will do a little bit of neck as well, a little bit of resistance training, so lifting some weights and stuff for this, like very specific though during the season, especially when we have to back-to-back races. But then in the beginning of the season, obviously we need to get better. So then the load is high. So for example, we'll do, if 1 week the focus is on getting endurance or focusing on endurance and getting those cardiovascular adaptations better, that week we'll focus a lot on whatever we choose, like from cycling, running, rowing, you know, all of that. And we'll do a lot of that and very little of the other stuff. But then probably the next week we'll try to maintain that cardiovascular adaptations and do a bit less, but then we would focus on neck strength, right? So we would push more neck and core. So yeah, it changes a lot, but obviously preseason, it would be quite a lot of training, actually a lot. The season is very, very long. But then, yeah, during the season, obviously we're very fatigued, not only from racing, but from the engineer meetings, from all of that, from traveling. So we need to be careful and manage the fatigue, really.
My question is, what do you get up to during the off season, and how do you prepare George to come back to racing?
Just a bit following on the previous question. First of all, we need a break. I know, again, from the outside, our lives look like amazing and you know, we're living the dream, which, don't get me wrong, we are in a sense, but it's so heavy, and we need a few weeks of rest, disconnect, think about other stuff, spend time with the people that you don't have a chance to spend time with during the season. So first of all, that so having some time off, and then we analyze what happened the previous season, which races were the heavier ones, which races were not so heavy, where can we be better. So I need feedback from George as well, from the engineers, from the tests we do. Obviously we do tests like 3 times a year to see where we're strong, where we're weak, and we try to improve, right? And I'd say like the last couple of pre-seasons, because George is already an athlete, he's developed, he's very strong in many areas. So now it's just, you know, making that very good athlete even a little bit better, which before it was just building a very good base, and getting him ready for what was coming. Now we're so strong that we just, you know, trying to improve the small things here and there. But yeah, he's really, really very good, and he impresses me every year. So he's growing and he's getting definitely stronger.
My question is, what was it like to mix your personal life and your work life when living with George and his family during lockdown?
That's a very good question, actually. Basically, there was no personal life for me then. No, we were quite a lot of people there, and it was a very, very nice group of people. George's family is great. They treat me so good. They're all great people, really funny, really friendly. So we had good times. Obviously, you want to stay in touch with your friends, you know, and your family. But yeah, it was difficult, you know. But I guess it was difficult for everyone during lockdown. So we were all on Zoom and all the other apps, right? yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was, it was a different thing, and we made the most of it. But yeah, it was an experience, that's for sure. It was an experience.
Yeah. My question is, what was it like when we got to Sakia for you to have to prepare George to be in a different car that he'd never raced in before? How did you prepare him for that weekend?
That's another good question. That was a very stressful week, as you can all imagine.
Was for us too.
It was unexpected. And they told us so late as well, right? So basically we're just, doing the same thing as we would normally do, for another race with Williams. And then all of a sudden everything changes. So basically, and to be honest, like the problem that week, not a problem, but he got so busy so quick with the engineers, with everybody from Mercedes, because he had to learn everything, right? Like the switches from the wheel, how the team works, what this message means, what this other message means, the strategy for first free practices, and we're gonna do this and that. So he spent, or the starts procedure, right? So the start is so different one car to the other. So he had to learn a lot. So the challenge that week was not how much training. Like I said, we always do a little bit to maintain fitness. But that week, the challenge was to get him out of the engineer's office, to get him out of the garage and just rest, and disconnect. But it was so difficult because he's a winner and he wants to do so well always. And obviously when you get given that opportunity, you want to do as much as you can, but you need to understand that you need rest to learn. And that applies for everyone when we're studying or something. If we don't rest, we don't learn. So we need to sleep, we need to think about other things as well. So yeah, like just from going to do, I don't know, a walk or like swimming in the beach, even if it was just 10 minutes, that was the goal for that week, to just, think about other things and rest really. And to be fair, we were both very tired at the end of the weekend. Obviously, it was heartbreaking, right? Everything, but but we were both very, very tired.
Very heartbreaking indeed.
If he did become if he became a long-term Mercedes driver, would there be anything you change with like training him and his diet?
Probably not. I think and I thought about this a few times. I think we'll keep doing the same because I believe that what we're doing is the right thing, and he believes so as well. It's very important to believe that the program you're doing is the right program. If you don't believe in it, you're just not going to improve, even if you do it right. So he believes in it. But then maybe, then obviously you have requests from the engineers and whatnot. And maybe, we have to change some things, like, for example, weight-wise. I don't think so. I think we're good weight, and especially with the new regulations. I don't think we'll change anything, but there is one thing not training related that we would change, and it's probably a bit more work to prepare for all the events, being in the spotlight. It's more like psychological instead of biological, if you want to say it, because it's going to be much more stress, much more pressure. We're in Formula One, but to be honest, not many people look at Williams, as during the weekend or during the week, which is sad, but it's the reality, right? But if you're winning, everybody looks at you, talks about you, all the media wants time with you, all the fans want time with you. So we have to be ready for that, and learn to get away from that as well. So probably that will be the only thing. But I've been thinking about that a lot. But again, we don't know if that's going to happen or not. Hopefully.
Yeah.
My question is, before being George's performance coach, were you a fan of Formula One?
I always been a fan. Like I come from, like I said, a motorsport family. My dad raced motorcycles. I raced motorcycles. So motorsports were always part of our family. but we always had it on TV. And I remember like Sunday watching the start, the first couple of laps, and then we would go, obviously I am from Barcelona, and we very late on the Sunday. So we would probably just see the start, and then we would go and eat lunch, and then we would watch the last couple of laps. But I always knew who was doing well and who was winning, and the teams that were at the front that year. But definitely, I always say to everyone now, even if I stop with this job and do something else, I'll be a fan for the rest of my life, because once you know the ins and outs of Formula One, it's an amazing sport. Like, I think that's what's missing sometimes with people. Like, if you need to know a lot, but when you know a lot about the sport, you enjoy it so much, because there's so much to it. Like if you watch a 100-meter sprint, it's just people just trying to run fast. There's nothing else. But here, there's tires, different compounds of tires, different wings, different upgrades, and then the personalities in the paddock. Obviously, flying to many different countries. It's a very complex sport, and it's fun, definitely. It brings me a lot of stress now. I'm a fan, but I'm so stressed all the time. So all the races, I'm so stressed. It's not good.
So on to the fan questions now. We've got one, and it says, what is the ideal thing for the driver to eat on race day?
Well, obviously it depends which driver you work with. And by that, I mean, for example, it'll be very different for George compared to Carlos Sainz, for example, right? Like, so Carlos is Spanish, George is British. So you have different cultures here. You've eaten different foods all your life. So you need to find a way that you want to make them eat what you want, but it actually goes with what they're used to, if that makes sense. But definitely easy to digest foods, not a lot of fiber, let's say. So like you want to avoid like brown bread and stuff like that, or like kiwis, or like something very, very easy to digest that gives energy. That's the main thing, and it gives energy for a long time. But yeah, with George, I'm lucky because he's always hungry, to be honest. He can eat all day, so it's not a problem to make him eat. But I know some drivers struggle with eating before the race. So yeah, definitely easy to digest.
Okay, so another person asked, so what's your favorite exercise? And then what's George's favorite exercise?
I guess we're talking favorite exercise to do for George in terms of his performance, I'm guessing. Yeah. Okay, I have to say, he doesn't like most of the exercises that I'm making him do. Not that he doesn't like them, but like, again, it's heavy, like obviously everything that is heavy is, he enjoys, even though we don't run a lot, let's say, but because he's fast, like he's genetically gifted for running fast. He's much faster than me running. Especially like high speed running. He enjoys that because he's good at it. So if we do like a 20-minute high intensity run, which we sometimes do, he's very good at it and he enjoys it a lot. And he tells me like, oh man, I felt so fast and so good. And so he enjoys that. But then, for example, all the core exercises like lumbar strength and all of that, he's like, oh man, this is heavy, and man, this exercise. There's one that he always, we call it the pendulum, that he basically goes in his stomach and like goes up and down, and it's good for the back, right? And he's like, oh, man, this is heavy. Every time we do it, and we did it this morning, and he's like, it's heavy, right? It's really heavy. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but he understands that it's important, so he embraces it.
Yeah. When you're making George do the mummy neck plank, are you ever tempted to have a go yourself?
Oh, no way. We actually tried. Because he's like, I'm sure you'll be able to do the same as me. And he went, and I told him like, stop. Like when I was like, I don't know, this far, I told him stop because I'm gonna break my neck. He was like, you're lying now. He's just saying this just to make me feel good. And I was telling the truth. I thought my neck was gonna break. And he doesn't understand it. And we do the neck tests at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, And I show him the numbers, and I'm like, look at this, like you can, like your neck is so strong. Like, do you think my neck can hold this? But he still doesn't believe me. But yeah, no, it's what they do and how strong they are. These guys on the neck, it's unbelievable.
Another person asked, do you know when you was doing your studies that you wanted to be a trainer within Formula One? And for those that are wanting to possibly go into training, what studies would you recommend for them to do?
First question, I never crossed my mind to work in Formula One. Never, not even a second. It was something, I knew about the sport. I knew the sport was there. I knew some people were working with these athletes, but never ever thought about it. Like, never. It was actually a friend who told me, there's this company called Hinsa, and they work with Formula One drivers. I think you could be a good fit. And I thought, okay. And I sent him an email, my CV, right? And then he went from there. But yeah, never thought about it. The only thing is just I wanted to know more about sports science and physical training. I just wanted to know more, and I still do. So if someone wants to get in this, I recommend first of all studying hard sport, either obviously something related like physiotherapy. Nowadays everything is getting close as well, like sports science, strength and conditioning, physiotherapy. Everything is, we're finding more and more things in common. So whatever you like, whatever you prefer, but obviously take that route, and obviously study very hard, be the best at it. And then I would recommend to work in different sports. I've worked with different athletes, many different sports, and you learn from every one of them. And you can always, I'm not saying you can apply what you learn from, let's say, a sprinter to Formula One, because it's very little what you can apply, but you learn how to deal with human beings. You learn how to coach, which is important. It's not, you can have all the knowledge in the world, but you need to be able to tell someone how to do something in a way that you want, if that makes sense, right? So that's an art itself, and you need to learn that. Nobody teaches you that at university. So yeah, definitely study a lot, and then work in many different sports. It's going to bring something for sure.
Someone asked, what would be a thing you do with George that you think people who are not racing drivers or professional athletes should do too?
Definitely. I'd say, to be honest, most of the stuff we do, except the heavy neck stuff, normal people can do. Basically, I want people. I think people in general should be able to lift, be able to run fast, jump fast, for all their lives, right? So we need to be able to go up the stairs. We need to be able to, bring the groceries back home. We need to be able to play with our children, with our friends. We need to be able to run if there's something, like, I don't know, the light is turning red and I need to cross the road. So I need to be able to run fast. So I think just being strong and powerful in general, should be a priority for everyone. Especially nowadays, we know that the fitter we are, the less chances we have, for example, now to catch COVID and to have bad consequences. But also, obviously, any kind of training is related to a very healthy lifestyle and having less problems with either pain, other diseases, or some mortality. So I just recommend like lifting, jumping, throwing, obviously done right, and everybody needs to do it at their level and what they can do. And that's why there's professionals out there. But yeah, just be healthy and do as much as you can, really. We're basically, we need to move. We're made to move, or, we're not here just to see. We've been moving for so many years, so we need to keep moving for sure.
I got another question. If George has a difficult race, how do you both work from that performance-wise and mentally?
You come up with a good questions here. That's unfortunately, it's been the case for the last couple of years, right? Like, he's a winner. He wants to win, right? And I was spoiled because in GP3 and F2 he was winning so much. It was very easy, you know. When you win, you just go and Tuesday you meet again for training, and everything is easy, and you know, you feel great, and you do everything that's needed. But then when the races don't go your way, you know, it's going to be a bit more difficult, and you'll need to find strategies, right? So for example, like finding some activities that he enjoys, obviously talk about it as well, like definitely talk about it. And we're at a point of that we can talk to each other very openly. He trusts me a lot, so basically asking the right questions, just being there, really just being there and listening is probably the main thing, I'd say. And then yeah, just finding things that he enjoys. Like for example, he likes to play golf, so we had a session on Tuesday morning planned to do whatever, but instead of that, let's go play golf with your friends, and we'll meet Wednesday and everything, you know. And then he slept one more night, he had some fun with his friends, and then everything is easier. So yeah, it's tricky, it's definitely tricky, but that goes with every athlete in every sport. Not always the results are the results that you expect. So yeah, a lot of talking, a lot of being there, being supportive, and finding things that he enjoys. But again, he's so professional that it's easy, to be honest with him. It's easy. He's like, yeah, I know we need to do the work, and we do the work. So yeah.
With triple headers like now, obviously it can be quite tiring, and obviously we've got the 2 races in Austria, so it's not really much traveling for these 2 weeks. How would you like keep George prepared for like both weekends? Because obviously he had a bit of bad luck last weekend. Does that kind of like fuel him to go on to this weekend?
Actually we flew home between every race, but yeah, you're right, it's heavy, and the fatigue is there. First of all, we need to control and understand how fatigued he is. Like for example, we control so many variables. Like we control how he sleeps, his heart rate variability, how many hours, also how he feels he slept, the weight, hydration, all of that. So we have some like very quick tests to see how fatigued he is, and then based on all of that, we can make changes and program a little bit better. Like let's say, okay, we do a bit more, or we do a bit less. But yeah, we try to do a little bit just to maintain fitness. But like I said, not too much. And definitely important between these triple headers to find things that you enjoy, just to think about something else. And some people it's music, some people is playing an instrument, some people is playing golf, like for example him, right? So you know, find things that you like, and just get away from the sport. And also, again, I cannot say about other drivers, but George is so focused during the weekends. Like if people were able to see how much work he puts in during the weekends, it's just unreal. Like he's so focused for so many hours. It's a pleasure to see, to be honest, like from my side. But that brings a lot of fatigue, right? On Monday, he's destroyed, not only from driving, but all these engineer meetings and all the thinking. He's always trying to make things better in the car and within himself. So yeah, it's basically understanding where the fatigue comes from, understanding how he's recovering. And then on the other hand, that's why we train a lot as well, just to be able to recover from all these races. And to be fair, he recovers so quickly, like so quickly. Like on Tuesday, we actually did a very good job. Like I got there to our gym, and he was feeling good. His sleep numbers were good. He was feeling fine. And you know, I see also like from the face and from the way he moves, and I was like, okay, we're going to push a little bit more because he was feeling good. So yeah, it's a lot of things.
Someone asked, what is your favorite memories in Formula One?
I'd say first, again, you get really close to your athlete, right? We spend a lot of time together. We always fly together. We work together a lot. So probably one of the best things is when he actually texts me, I'm going to be in Formula One next year. I was so happy for him. I was so happy. He deserves it so much. Deserved it at that point because he did an amazing job. Like first year champion at GP3, first year champion at F2. So yeah, so happy for him. And then since we've been here, I'd say probably first year it was very difficult, but he's qualifying in Budapest. He went to Q2. It was big success. And then, to be honest, last year he did a good job. Obviously, the race we did with Mercedes was, it's going to be in my head forever. Such a cool experience. But yeah, probably I probably still say the moment he signed for Williams, that was incredible. I mean, just 20 drivers, and he was one of them. So, and I was fortunate enough to be working with him as well. So yeah, it felt good. It felt really good.
Yeah.
Hopefully this weekend is the best memory. We score points this next weekend, and then it's the best weekend ever in Formula One. So
yeah,
hopefully.
So the next question I have is, does George's height affect any of the training you're doing, or do you have to kind of work around his height? Because obviously most of the drivers are quite short, but George is kind of 6 foot. So
yeah, tell me about it. When they told me, this kid driver, so I was expecting short, like basically most of the drivers, right? And I got there, and he's 10 times taller than I am. And I was like, wow, okay. So he should be playing volleyball or basketball instead. But yeah, anyway, there's one way that it affects, and this not many people has talked about it in the past, but obviously because he's very tall, his neck also is longer. So the moment arm, so this lever arm here, it's very long. So on the high G-force corners, he will struggle more than a person who's a bit shorter. For example, let's say Bottas is quite short, right? So probably he's lower, his neck is just shorter. So then it's less forces going through the neck, right? So George's neck struggles a bit, let's say, has to deal with more forces than a shorter driver, right? And then at Williams, we didn't have a problem because the car is big, the chassis is big, and he fits in well. Training wise, we just had to deal with what we have, and he's tall, and we deal with it. But not really. I would be doing the same, or not the same, but similar with a shorter driver, right? But then I remember at Mercedes when we were testing the first times, the chassis was so small. He had to wear boots that were 2 sizes smaller. So it was a struggle for him just because he didn't fit. So yeah, that was challenging. I remember Budapest, the first time he tested there, it was 40 degrees, shoes smaller than his size, so hot, he couldn't fit, he was crunched in there, not comfortable. So it was not pleasant for sure. But yeah, it is what it is. We have a tall driver, and we deal with it.
So say because obviously George went from F2 to F1, mentally, how did you sort of prepare him for that, and how did you sort of help him mentally get in the head for F1?
I'm a big believer of making mistakes to learn. A lot of times you can say as many things as you want to someone, but until you experience that, we don't learn, right? So we talked a little bit about look, media is going to be hectic, fans, traveling, all of that, the pressure. But you don't know. Even myself, I didn't know exactly what was going to be. So basically, we reviewed things. We talked about it after a few races, and he was like, "Yeah, man, you were right. It's so heavy. It's so heavy. You always, you have to be there for the media. Always smiling for the media." Fans are great, don't get me wrong, but there's so many fans all the time, so many flights, and on top of that, the car was not working. If you win, probably, or you're up there in the fight, everything is probably easier, but it wasn't. So it's a big shock. But I think for every young driver, it's a shock. So yeah.
Yeah, what do you usually do on a race day, or explain what you do on maybe Fridays, Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah. So basically, Friday obviously do sessions. I think let's start from Thursday because we get here on Thursday. Generally Thursday morning, we get here. We have a small gym in the hospitality. I was fortunate enough to have, because the team, I don't think any teams have it. So I asked the team 3 times and they built one for us. So yeah, we'll start with a short session with George here, move a little bit, and then he has a lot of media, which is quite tiring. And then generally at night we'll do a massage as well, just to disconnect, forget about things, not look at the phone, stuff like that. And then obviously depends on how heavy, how hot is the weekend gonna be. We eat different things, and we program that as well. I talk to a hotel if that's the case, and I say like, okay, we need a bit more of this, less of that, more of that, right? And then Friday, obviously, just generally we eat here, breakfast here, and then just prepare everything. Like I said, if it's hot, definitely have drinks ready. If it's really hot, a lot of electrolytes will be used during the day. Also, if it's very, very hot, we'll use either cold showers or a tub, that we go in before the sessions. Ice vest sometimes, whatever we can do to keep the body cool. And then before a session, we generally do a short warm-up, short activation, just to make sure that the brain is ready, the eyes are ready, blood is flowing, and everything, right? So yeah, and then just be there, make sure that everything works well, the helmet, headset, radio, the drinks, that make sure that everything goes well and everything goes smooth. Like I talk to the hospitality before every weekend, and I program, okay, he's gonna eat this and this at this time, and it needs to be at this time at this place. We always have a protocol after every time he drives, like he will take a shower, if possible, he will get changed, just to prevent getting ill. He will eat certain things. Again, depends on the weekend. Like if it's really heavy, he will eat some things. If it's not so heavy, he will eat other stuff. Or if there's a lot of pollution as well in the air, he will eat some things, more fats, maybe omega-3 fats and stuff like that. So yeah, basically do the warm-ups, make sure that that the food is ready, that the drinks are ready, we're recovering well, we're eating well. Also prepare his room for a nap. We take a nap every day if we can, and I push a lot for that. I'm like, oh, have you taken a nap? No. Okay, let's go take a nap. So we always try to take a nap. And then Saturday, it's pretty much the same. For qualifying, I never need to tell him. Like he always takes a nap. He's aware that it helps. He's a bit fresher after. And generally, as you know, he performed on Saturday. So yeah, nothing to complain there. And then Saturday, normally we try to find something to do after driving. And something, like go for a walk, bike ride, but like not training, just to move and get the mind away. And then Sunday, just a bit more of the same, but Sunday, everything is more hectic. It's so stressful here. Prepare, basically have everything, have all the spares that I can. So from boots to gloves, socks, underwear, suit, helmet, rain helmet, anything. You just need everything, right? We also eat something in the grid, a bit of sugars there, have drinks as well, some frozen drinks ready. And yeah, the activation. And then probably I'd say the after is more important than the before. We always take food away with us when we fly. We never eat what they have on the plane. We just eat what we want, what it's important. And when I take like a big bag of food with me on the plane, which everybody laughs about, but when they see the food, then everybody's jealous. But yeah, that's basically my weekend.
Amazing.
I've got one more question. So when it comes to like this point in the season, when there's a lot of like attention on George about his position next year, does that put like pressure on you and George to perform as well as you can? Or do you just go about like your weekend the same, just try to make it as less pressurized as possible?
To be honest, I know people would love to hear if we're actually going there next year or not. And I'm being honest, I have no idea. And the reason I have no idea is because I don't want to know. I don't follow any media. I follow the sport, but I don't follow anything. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they say about him, and I never talk about it. If he wants to talk about it, he tells me. But I never bring it up. And I think that's the best way. And we focus on the now. We focus on small goals, and you know, like for example, last week is like, okay, we have a chance next weekend. Okay, we just do the best. What can we do? So we focus on that. But again, if he wants to talk about it, I'm there, and I'm there to listen. And yeah, that's it really. There's not more pressure, because I think the person that puts more pressure is himself. He puts a lot of pressure on himself. He wants to do so good, and he wants to prove to everyone that he's good. And I think people know now. But yeah, I don't think there's more pressure, you know, like, and obviously that will change in the future whenever that happens. I'm sure one day he will be fighting for world championships, and then the pressure will be high. But I think for him, it'll be the same kind of pressure, you know. It'll be like, am I doing the best I can? Am I being fast enough? And if the answer is no, he will do something about it. If the answer is yes, you know, that's what it is. But yeah, nothing. I don't think anything's changing. We just have to be perfect always, really.
So we want to say a big thank you to you for coming on and speaking to us. And we wish George the best of luck this weekend. We are all very big supporters of George, including myself.
I saw the Williams. I saw the Williams jumper there. Yeah.
So I hope for some good points this weekend. I'm not jinxing it, but
fingers crossed. Literally fingers crossed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've
and
been
I just
waiting
want to
for
say
ages.
It's gonna happen. It'll happen.
It's gonna happen.
will.
It is.
For sure.
No, just thank you. And good luck.
On.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So good.
This is it's a good initiative, and keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure you'll get this podcast very successful.
Thank you.
Thank you.